So continuing on from the previous video, we're now going to start to look at how we can build our first quick rules with Solibri. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to the Rule Set Manager. I've already got the model open, it's the same model as before. And then the crucial thing here is that I must make sure that I'm creating this new rule set that I'm about to create inside the current session, the current model of Solibri. So rule sets open in Solibri must be highlighted here, and then we just create a new rule set. And we can go give that a name. Again, we should give it a description and all the other bits and pieces, but that's something we'll come back to. I'm then going to come down into this list. We've got two folders available. There's the accessibility rules and the common rules. Accessibility rules, funnily enough, are all to do with doors, windows, ramps, stairs, and their accessibility. The common rules is the mix, it's the leftover of all the other rules. There's 57 in total. But if I scroll down, the one that I'm actually after is called the general intersection rule. It's rule number 1. And I'm going to grab this and drag and drop so that it appears inside this list. This is the template, so when I bring the template in, it doesn't know what to call it because it's still just the template name. So again, we'll just rename that. And this time we'll call it something like structural columns versus structural slabs. I'm not going to do any of the configuration here because drag and drop makes it a lot easier to do that in the standard interface, so I'll come back to that in a little while. But what I'm also going to do is prepare for the next video, which is going to use component distance. And all I'm going to do is drag and drop this one in, and we'll just do a quick rename on this one at the same time. And we will say ensure wash hand basin no more ensure wash hand basin no more than 800 mil from WC. And that's a little teaser for later, so we'll come back to that one. So I'm going to return to File so that I can go back to, this time, the checking view. And we've not been in here before, but this is where we're actually going to configure the rule and run the checks. You'll see my rule sets appeared in this list. I didn't have any rule sets loaded previously, so I've just got my example rule set. And inside it, I've got the two rules that I've created, which aren't configured as yet. So the next step is I need to have my parameters. I'm going to drag and drop to the bottom of the screen. And then what I'll do is pick on structural columns versus structural slabs, because that's going to allow me to populate the whole thing. Because I'm interested in the structural model, I'm actually going to just briefly switch back to model and then just isolate the structural model in this list by hitting the set button. And then I can return to checking because now I've got this model to play with and work with. In terms of the configuration for this general intersection rule, we want to do some sort of clash to make sure there are none. And the way we do that is we configure the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the table to be the two components we want to check against each other. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm on the info tool. It already is. I'm going to pick a column, and then I'm going to use the information down here to drag and drop the filter that's going to create this structural column filter. So I can go through all the tabs. You'll see there's a load of bits. There's favorites, which is a new thing in just 9.13.8. There's other properties we can pick up as well. The stuff that I'm after is actually in the identification tab of BIM data. And really what I want is just a very basic structural column. So by dragging structural discipline from this list, I'm able to populate this line that says include a column, which is a discipline that is one of structural. Previously, in the old days, without drag and drop, that's lots of clicking and double clicking, etc. On the other side, I want a slab, so I'm going to repeat the process. I picked a slab, info's updated, it shows I've got the slab highlighted. I'm going to drag and drop this into place. Now, if we want to take that a little bit further, if I'm just interested in floors and not other types of slab, we could come down and we could grab the predefined type and drag and drop this. You'll see there's also IFC entities. If you want to work with those, then you can use IFC entities or types to build up your rules in a slightly different way. But effectively, that's the two sides configured. And as a check, what I can do is set the selection basket on this side to show the columns, and they are what I expect to see. And then on the other side set, and I'm now looking at the slabs, and again, that's what I expect to see. Coming down to the bottom half, there's three types of checks that we can run with this general intersection rule. So duplicate will look for identical items on top of each other. Inside actually looks for components. They don't clash. It's where you might have an example in the MEP part of this model is a 300mm round duct which is hollow, and there's actually little caps have been placed inside that are completely contained within inside the larger hollow items. So inside we go and identify those. In this case, the main bit that we're looking for here is overlaps. So that's where a physical clash takes place. We can set a tolerance. So we literally just choose a figure. So we could set 25 horizontal, 25 vertical. And the nice thing that we can do there is we can also include a volume tolerance. So it might be acceptable to chase a little bit of slab over a very short distance to allow something to fit. But if it's extending over a much longer, 3-4 meter length or something like that, if we include the volume tolerance and set this to something appropriate, then we can pick up those scenarios as well. But I'm going to leave that off for now, and we're just going to go with the 25 and 25mm. There is an exceptions that allows us to set rules where certain penetrations can actually be permitted. We're not going to configure those just now. And then there's also a further option that we can tell it to ignore intersections within the same system or in the same layer and model. So when it comes to checking windows and walls, we don't want them to be a clash, so we can use these filters again further here. But effectively, the rule's now configured. We go and hit check, and what it should do is find some items. It doesn't find anything for the second rule because we're not configured it yet. But if we take a look at this one here, we can see if we drop down into the results, we've found this item here, and if we go down further, we can actually isolate the individual components. The column's hard to see because it's way up here, but if we make this top slab transparent, then we can actually see through, and we can see where this overlap exists inside the slab. So it will give me all the details here, and if I capture a slide, so we can use this later to report to BCF or even just out to Excel, but we can do these sort of things, and it gives me the whole description and shows me what's what. I've not chosen a great image, so let's just spin this round so we're looking at it from slightly different angle. We'll make this transparent again, and what we can do then is refresh that view so that it's a little bit more appropriate. Still not great, Ken, but I hope you get the idea. So that's our first little rule, quickly configured, and the results that have been achieved from there.